tell me about your vision?
Uh, it was to solve a problem that I was able to see around me that I also experienced myself and got out of it on the other end.
Hmm. Cut, clear, clean. I like
Mhm.
that. And what may I ask, what problem might that have been to help you
Totally.
get to this side?
In a nutshell, I did not like who I was back in 2016 and before that point. And I was not a character that I enjoyed being around. I was not positively impacting my relationship with myself, with which then seeped out into my other relationships.
Mm.
And there was an opportunity where there was a clean cut where everything was just neutral and blank.
Yeah.
And it was the moment where it was making a sincere decision to make a change because I didn't want to repeat history.
Mm.
And so from that point, then it went into develop or not just developing, but exploring different practices to see what resonated. And so that I can adopt what works and reject what doesn't and try to refine this practice more and more. And as I've developed myself through this practice, then it just made sense to help other people do it too if I can solve the problem that they may be experiencing.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
My
Can you,
pleasure.
yeah, of course, can you share an example of framework that helps people think about their thinking and gain clarity as you have done?
Absolutely. The simplest place to start is the difference between soft talk and solid talk.
Okay.
So, soft talk is ambiguous, it's unclear, it's indecisive. Solid talk is clear, decisive, and it makes sense. So, an example of soft talk, and I'll list off a variety of different words. These are soft talk words.
Okay.
So, let's say, for example, I might make it to the party for 5 p.m. I could make it to the party for 5 p.m. I should make it to the party for 5 p.m. I kind of want to be at the party for 5 p.m. These are all ambiguous. I'm probably going to make it to the party for 5 p.m. So I like to think that if a statement can have a question at the end, then the statement wasn't clear enough.
Mm.
So in those examples, are you or are you not going to the party?
Yes.
So there's ambiguity both with the self and then with others. So when we remove this soft talk, when we remove probablys, mights, coulds, shoulds, then we're left with decisions. It's either we're going or I'm going to the party for 5 p.m. I'm not going to the party at all. And I'm undecided as to whether or not I'm going. I'm going to check my calendar
Yeah.
because there's a place for soft talk. However, I believe that folks that speak softly also set goals softly as well. They're not solid. They're
Yes.
not foundational. Uh, and so, what happens when we remove this soft talk from our text messages, from our
Mm.
internal dialogue, from our communication with the people around us, our fellowship?
Yeah.
Uh, what happens is that puts us in the opportunity or in the space of making a decision. And
Mm.
so, what I see happening, what I experience, is that when we remove the soft talk, then we have an opportunity to make a series of micro decisions
Mhm.
that are going to develop our competence and our decision making skills. We're going to learn to trust ourselves because we're making decisions in alignment with what we want. So we have respect for ourselves and along with that.
Yeah.
And when we get better at making those smaller decisions, those bigger decisions are less intimidating because we trust our ability to make those decisions. So
Yeah.
by removing that soft talk, solid talk, then we have the opportunity to see things more clearly rather than waiting for permission, for example,
Mm. Mhm.
to make a decision and or just simply not making a decision because they have the story of, oh, I don't want to upset so and so because they invited me to this party and I don't want to go.
Yep.
However, I don't want to say I don't want to go,
Yep.
even though that's disrespectful to both parties.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so that would be the easiest, simplest thing. And then when people understand, they see it, then they
Mhm.
hear it all around them as well. So we're swimming in soft talkers.
That's funny because I'm like, what have I said
Yeah. Oh yeah.
lately
Yeah.
that soft talks some things? And it's interesting because you don't know until somebody points it out. Again, that's probably one of those pain things where someone like myself will be like, no, I don't do that. Like that's nothing that I do. And then for me to hear somebody tell me, oh, you do it. So make a decision. And so how do you transition someone to that you have identified that does a lot of soft talking into hard talk? What does that transition look like?
The mechanism to moving a soft talk, anything, let's say soft talk statement, like the I might make it to the party for 5 p.m., and turning into a solid talk is translations. So we work like linguistic alchemists, where we take a lead story and we turn it to gold.
Mm,
And so simple, same idea as what I said before, where is I should go to the party for 5 p.m. I'm going to the party for 5 p.m. That is a translation.
yeah.
And so what we're aiming for with the translation is truth, accuracy, and from there we can learn like what's our intentionality behind saying this thing.
Yeah. Who's your ideal client?
Fellas that are indecisive, are unsure where to go next, or have found themselves at a peak. They could have self-image issues, identity issues. They may be low on the self-respect. Uh, they may feel an intuitive pull towards doing something, however, have not been taught how to think of ways to uh, increase their autonomy, their sovereignty, like their individuality, rather than just simply adopting beliefs and narratives of others and expectations. Why not come up with your own subjective creation? And yep, because that's the same issues I had.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I felt like really crappy about myself, and then now it's completely different. It's like a completely different relationship because I'm also a completely different person, and
Absolutely.
I steered that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. When did you find that it was time to make a change?
when that with that one,
Yeah.
when relationships did not go too well, and yeah, that was pretty much that. Yeah.
Kyle, it's so funny because I don't know why I want to get to know you. There's something about you that I want to get to know more of. So
Cool.
I'll stay out of that part.
That's fair.
When it comes to clarity consultant, what's your why?
My why is that okay, there's a couple layers to it. Going from a base level, my why is that I believe that we are taught how to think, or no, sorry, what to think rather than how to think for a
Yeah.
majority of our lives, which was useful for a solid chunk of time. However, I think that when with the amount of flexibility we have and the opportunities that are at our disposal to those that are have a sincere desire to utilize them to better themselves and others,
Yeah.
uh, people are more dependent on external forces to bring what they want to their doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we are living in a comfort crisis, we lose that autonomy, we increase the dependency, and then we are no longer who we could be. We are what other people expect us to be. And so I believe that if an individual has good intentions, then they can absolutely, honestly, realistically, anybody that has any intentions to do anything can do what they want to do in order to get there. And it's these long-standing stories and narratives and expectations that don't logically make sense in our present day.
Yeah. 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 And it's the stories. And I like how you said that we are taught what to think and
Mhm,
not how to think. I think that that's also something that we do, and because we are taught that, it just prolongs into our adult lives, where
mhm,
we really need to begin to make decisions based on how it should be decided upon. such as the soft talk and the hard talk. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting that we don't learn all of this until we grow up, have some experiences that are not so good. And then dadgummit, now this light bulb goes off and now we have all this wisdom. But it brings clarity. And it's so I had to use the word because it does bring clarity.
Mhm.
Could you tell me about one of your success stories that you had?
Yeah, sure. There's this one fella. I'm not going to say names just for the sake of privacy on
Okay.
this one. There was this one fella that I had a really cool session with, and what the sessions look like is that it's broken up into story work and breath work.
Okay.
So we go into breathing, we down regulate or up regulate the body, neutralize. We just feel real good in our state where we are, and then into the story work. And this fella in particular had a father themed story because stories have themes as well.
Mm,
Similar to how if you've ever had a friend that has dated 10 different people, however, they're the same person.
yes.
So experiences work the same way.
Yeah.
We can have an experience as a child and we can maintain that theme into our adulthood because we haven't integrated that story. It's still an anchor to us. It's still something that's influencing our present day. It's the owner of us. So he had a father theme story, and it was a long story. And people can write like a paragraph, they can write a page if they want.
Mhm.
And this memory in particular didn't really feel too good with him. It was like a tough one.
Yeah.
And so the way that I go through the process, I'll just show the process too because it'll be easier. So the first step was to write down the story.
Okay.
So we wrote down the story, and after the story is written down, title it.
Mm.
Title it because it's a story.
Mhm.
And when you're writing the story, you want to uh, err on the side of more detail rather than less. You
Okay.
want to have it conversational, not point form. And you're writing the story as if you're seeing it. So it's not I'm in it right now. You're
Yeah.
creating objectivity. You're creating space. And so even for the first step, people just doing that to create space, it takes a story from here and puts it somewhere else. And a story that's kept in the mind is infinite. And then all the other stories with the same themes can
Mhm.
all mesh together. And then they seem like they are all one story when they're in reality, they're just separate ones chunked
Mhm.
up.
Okay.
And so he wrote down the story, crush it. Second step, we read the story, read it out loud.
Mm.
Doing a solo is awesome too. Doing it with someone, so you're reading it to someone, will supercharge it
Yeah.
because you're literally sharing your heart. You're sharing a moment in time. And then he felt that one.
Yeah.
He felt that one
Yeah. I
because when
bet.
you're reading, because the words are magic. Like words bring the feelings to the forefront. So we could be in a completely, totally fine state, and then we bring those feelings up through revisiting, which is good in this case because we're working on processing the unmetabolized emotions.
Okay.
So went through that first read. Then I ask them the questions. How does it feel? Or how do you feel? Like what emotions are coming up? Uh, where do you feel it in your body? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where does it land?
Mhm.
Scale of 1 to 10 for intensity, 10 being the most intense.
Okay.
Uh, so he gave his numbers and his information. These are all data. This is all data.
Yeah.
There's nothing threatening or harmful. It's just information on a page. And then step three, we read the story 30% slower.
Mm. Mhm.
So many folks during the first read, they'll try to keep their stay high and tight in the chest. High
Mhm.
and tight, you're good to fight. Low and slow, you're good to flow.
Mm.
So people will try to hold their breath in so that they don't have to feel the feels associated with it.
Mhm.
So the second step nullifies that and it forces the breath in.
Mhm.
So went through that. I asked them the same three questions and we noticed that things were decreasing. So the intensity went from a what were the actual ones? It was a 9 to a 7. So it was up on the intensity level, which is okay. And then feels changed, where he felt it in his body changed.
Mm.
And then we went into the fourth step. And the fourth step is to read and breathe. So we integrate the reading and the breathing. So at every period, the occasional comma and sometimes and, you put a line or you just put breathe if you're typing it out. So you're reading slow. So this would be example. It would be like when you're reading 30% slower and you end up coming up to a period,
Uh,
breathe it in, let it out, and continue on with the story.
okay.
So what happens is we bring awareness to the story, we bring the feels up from the story, we slow it down so we can crack the story because we are bringing a breath in.
Yeah.
And then with the breathing and reading, we're allowing it to flow through us. We're allowing it to process, to integrate.
Hmm.
So it no longer has any intensity. And
Yeah.
we look at it as what it is, which is a story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the word that I came out of this is vulnerability. Like you have to be so vulnerable to number one, write your story down, and then to read it out loud, and then to read it 30% slower. But then I believe you said the one of the steps or desires of an individual that chooses to do clarity consultant is to go through the pain points. And that I tell you, as you were doing it, I'm sitting here reminding myself to breathe.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole mindset thing, as you mentioned, and it's it's very interesting that you do this on a daily basis. So what's the difference between clarity consultant and clarity, not, it wouldn't be coaching, counseling? What's the difference?
Hmm. The difference between consulting and counseling
Yes.
is, to me, this is how I would break it up. Consulting to me is outcomes focused rather than problems focused.
Got it. Okay.
That would be the core on that one, I believe. Because
Okay.
counseling, it would be similar to some therapies as well, whereas talk therapy or as two talking heads and like going back and forth, which is good for up here, but it doesn't integrate the physical body.
Got it.
Which that's also how my process differentiates as well. Is that it's not just the mental or the physical; it's an integration of both.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, the
Makes all
ethereal and the physical.
yes, because I'm sitting here like, I think I might have just had therapy with Kyle Smith.
Maybe.
But interesting, because I'm sure many people wonder, the difference. And not to take up too much of your time, but I do have one last question.
Sure.
What are the greatest joys of what you do?
Mm. The greatest joys of what I do is the opportunity to see someone collect aha moments.
Mm,
That's
yes.
that's no, I'm gonna take out the probably. That's my favorite thing because my intention when I start with someone, because I understand that the threshold for people coming in. Oh, another thing I wanted to say actually before this, because you said vulnerability, and when you said that, something else popped up. I think that it's not vulnerability. I think that vulnerability is easy. It's
Hmm.
the courage to do it that's
Hmm.
hard
Yes.
because people are vulnerable all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that it's much more easy. Courage is something that is not as supported and encouraged.
Mm. I can
Yeah,
I can see that definitely.
totally. Uh, so yeah, my intention when someone starts out is to collect as many aha moments as possible
Yeah. Yeah.
because aha moments or pattern interrupts or uh, basically it's just a changing in the synapses of our neurology in our brain.
Hmm.
So each of our everything's on a pathway, and some ideas may be separated in our mind, and it
Yeah.
just takes that moment, that catalyzing moment, to bring two thoughts together, and then they have that moment of aha. And an aha moment to me is a moment of inspiration.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.